Он как задержится? День. Прошу занимать места. Мы начинаем через 1 минуту. Всех спикеров прошу на сцену. Спасибо.
Good morning, dear colleagues. We'll start our roundtable discussion. The subject will be how to educate a national champion, scaling of national companies in BRICS markets. As you, of course, know, we as a Russian venture company, together with our partners, and our partners is an association of innovative regions of the High School of Economics, PricewaterhouseCoopers. For many years, we are working on the rating of technological success us as a means of finding the most promising high-tech companies and offering them the best, most efficient government support. In Russia, we traditionally believe that the only efficient means of support is money. Give me money and leave me alone, as sometimes people joke. But as we all understand, in Russia and in the world, this does not work. Recently, we have a model where the government starts intensively helping their champions to make them global technological leaders. By way of an example, I wanted to tell you that we are very attentively following the experience of China, and today we have a guest from China, Guan Xiaonan, especially because China has most efficiently learned to accelerate its champion, to make them global. Sometimes they are working very toughly, sometimes they do not let the others into their market, sometimes they provide support, but as a result, Chinese companies, Xiaomi, Alibaba, become global champions within 10-year period. In the same way America does. Despite all their conversations, all their talks about free market, Elon Musk realizes all their projects with huge government support. As a result, they have technological champions. Therefore, a government as a partner, as a service for high-tech companies is a must in the present-day world. And we must understand how to achieve this. To do this, we must find a tool to coordinate, to arrange all tools of support, monetary and non-monetary, for the company to be efficient. And today, our roundtable discussion will be organized as follows. First of all, we will look at the situation. We will try to understand the problem. We will discuss the principal approaches to the tasks which we have formulated, and Dan Medovnikov will make a base presentation, and together with Artyom Shandrin from the Department of Innovative Development of the Ministry of Economics, who is one of the oldest partners of this approach and the leader of innovative development in Russia on the part of Minenergo and others. And after that, we will give the floor to the representatives of our government agencies in order to be able to demonstrate what opportunities we have. And we give the floor to our companies who are the champions or potential champions in order to discuss how these tools are necessary or useful, which instruments or which tools are missing, and we'll try to understand what is the picture of the possible support to the national champions and how to move on further. I will stop with my introduction, and I will ask Dan to make the main presentation. Good morning, dear ladies and gentlemen. I believe that this introduction about the baseline presentation, it's not right. I will try to be brief. First of all, I wanted to say that technological success has broken a hole in the wall of misunderstanding of high-tech business, developing business, the representatives of which are here in the first row. And now they have become famous, and they are in the focus of attention of all development agencies. And they now have windows of opportunity, thanks to the fact that our company and PricewaterhouseCoopers have started this story, selecting those companies using very tough criteria, demonstrating, showing these companies to the society, and alongside with this, the officials, the bureaucrats, also thanks to our research, began to understand that our race for the champion, which started 10 years ago in our company, goes on throughout the world, and its base parameters, the criteria of selecting the companies. Sometimes we are not going in line because of the specifics of our ratings, but still we are very well fitting the similar ratings in other countries. Let me remind to you briefly, probably not all of us know what is success, what are the criteria. First, this is middle-sized business. The turnover must be about 100 million rubles, quickly developing business, fast growth rate. It was 20, now of 15%. High-tech business, very serious investment in research and development, and fast introduction of the product in the market. This year we'll have some changes. I will give some very brief facts. We are raising the upper level. This is business up to 20 billion rubles, and we are introducing some modifications conventionally, small conventionally, middle size and conventionally large. Therefore, the rating will be modified as well in terms of growth rate and turnover, receipts from sales. They will be different for different types of companies. Why we need this? Artyom Shadrin will explain, in order to match with the next project, which will start this year. You may have a look here at the data of PricewaterhouseCoopers average ratings. You can see what it means for Russian innovative business. 36% growth rates, 515 people average number of employees, and the investment in the technological and R&D products and so on. These are super active, super innovative companies. The examples of some of these, some of them are present here in the audience, but some names are already well known to the people like MBK, Interschool, some companies well known in the Urals. I wanted to draw your attention to the fact that the main age of the companies, which are rated by our companies, 20 plus. These are not startups. They were incorporated in the early 90s, and the peak of development was in the zeros. They are mature companies, and the programs on which our colleagues in the East and West are working also tell us that they are working with mature companies which have already gained their place in the market and which want to continue fast growth. We interviewed the companies, how they explained their growth in the latest years, and they all told us that it was related to innovative products, large contracts, and the introduction of new facilities. Commissioning of new facilities. The presentation prompts me that a significant problem which is access to financial resources. It's a problem. Significant part of the companies are already exporting. 48% of them are already exporting to the developed countries, though mostly the former Soviet countries are dominating here. They have room for growth. They are interested in specific companies, self-made, entrepreneurial companies. Quite often the CEO is an owner, or it's a group of technological leaders and their owners as well. In many cases, they are the Soviet technological elite. There will be some deviations, but in the 90s, in order to preserve their research ideas, they commercialized that. They have grown them into significant business. What is interesting about that? We are thinking whether we should support them, whether they are capable of growing further under these conditions. Taking into account that the average age of the leader is 54 years, we have some 10, 15 years to help them to reach new levels. Some companies are really trying within the next 5 years to reach the new technological level, but not all of them have an opportunity for them. And many of them tell us that they do not have sufficient resources. Mostly, I may remind you, they're self-made companies, and if they give them additional tools, give them some financial or some other leverage, probably they will not leave the trajectory of growth in the next 5 years. This was another opinion poll which we organized in 2016. We asked the companies what promising forms of government support you require. We asked many of those companies. First of all, these are loans, long-term and cheap loans, and then more or less standard list for all our business. Taxes, government order, protectionism, government policy, government programs. Very briefly, conclusions. most of the companies, absolute majority, are prepared to move to a new level within the next 5 years. They have potential. They need just some help. They have certain limitations in the domestic market. They want to go to the export markets, but we need to support them for that. And now they will grow from middle size to mid-large companies, and they will require consulting support. And the most important conclusion is that the authorities should work on an individual, one-on-one basis with those companies and seize them national and global champions. Very briefly, I have selected several countries for this presentation. Europe, for example, where they have similar programs for mid-sized business development. In the Netherlands, Finland, UK, they have selected the companies from which the authorities want to grow national champions. Asia is very successful in that. South Korea is very close to us in terms of their performance in the growth rates, and their program World Class 300. In 2016 alone, they select 30 companies, and they have selected 50 companies in the first half year of this year. Taiwan, very active program in Malaysia. And finally, we are working together with CIS companies. Kazakhstan has started the program last year. They have selected first 58 companies. And this is a holding which reports directly to Nazarbayev, works very close to us in a very similar ways. Whether Russia will have similar programs, I do not know. Tech success have demonstrated that we have all the necessary parameters, all the necessary requirements for that. But I will not intrigue you any longer. I will ask the next speaker to give you more details about this.
Да, спасибо большое. Я попрошу.
Thank you very much. I'd like to give the floor to Artem Shadrin to give more details on the possibility for development of this area. Good morning, dear colleagues. Last week, the Minister of Economic Development, Mr. Ulyukayev, has signed the order to initiate the supportive project for highly technological companies that we unofficially call national champions. The main idea behind this program is that we are creating preconditions, prerequisites for generating major Russian private highly technological companies. We have examples of major companies using innovative technologies, but it's mainly state companies, public companies, Rostechnology, Rosatom. There are private major companies, but working mainly in resource sector, as we know it. There are examples of high technological private companies, but they are not major. They are mostly middle ranking, EBI, Kaspersky Lab, that have become major companies, global companies, and also CIS companies, Yandex, Mail.ru, but still very local. The main idea is to generate international Russia-based program companies with several dozens of billions of dollars turnover. This is a task that we set for 2025. Several private companies with $10 billion and at least 5 with $5 billion turnover. We plan to reach this level by 2020. Who are these companies? The winners of these success programs. We have discussed the possibilities for companies that we need to support and decided to find a range this year to find to support at least 30 companies. 25 of them are companies with a turnover starting from billion to 30 billion rubles, and 25 with up to several hundred million rubles. Average companies in terms of the global entrepreneurship, but quite big in terms of Russia. These are the companies demonstrating dozens of percentage growth, showing dozens of percentage of growth within year and making competitive products. And the question is how to give the maximum support to these private companies in the development of their businesses. These are 3 areas. There are 3 areas that we plan implement within our project. The first area is the financial support. We cannot denied that Russian business is more or less discriminated in terms of the access to financial tools, financial instruments as compared to international competitors, the length, the term, and also the interest rate. We plan to implement this tool. This is in the first place the access to available instruments, our governmental support, subsidizing of interest rates, the Ministry of Trade and Commerce of Russia, of industry of Russia, the credit support program, expert financing access, Roseximbank and XR programs access, and also the access to Industrial Development Fund, the access to middle companies of Russia, up to 2 billion ruble turnover for Braverman Fund. So that also provides low interest rate. These are quite comprehensive. It's a quite comprehensive support, and we plan to provide a one-stop shop, a consulting support to middle companies that was mentioned by Mr. Medovnikov, using the resources of the field-specific ministries and agencies. This has some costs. And of the entire amount of Russian companies demonstrating high growth rates, not only competitive but also ready to scale their business. This will be another criteria for selection of the best companies. These specific companies got the access to financial instruments, not just getting this subsidy and instrument interest rates into their pockets, but instead using them to increase the scale of the business. This will be our key criteria, and we focus on the success in this respect. The second area of support that we also plan to implement, this is the support related to non-financial support forms. For example, access to foreign markets, business missions arranged by Russian Expert Center, assistance in international governmental committees, non-financial range of tools, and also access to internal purchasing markets involving governmental companies based on Federal Law 2020. 223, there is a special KPI, the assistance of the government for purchasing activity. There are certain barriers, but we try to implement certain activities, certain actions to overcome these barriers. We want our candidates to become champions. Then we try to provide individual support. On the one hand, to test how these barriers can be overcome. On the other hand, to decrease them, to remove them, and then provide assistance to them as one of the most promising leaders. The other area is the reduction of administrative barriers. The third area of support, horizontal measure to remove certain barriers in the form of roadmaps developed by ministry and agency to support businesses. But unfortunately, not all barriers are removed properly, and the colleagues from private companies say that there are still customs barrier, export control barriers, and existing barriers, and we still want to manually work on these problematic issues based on the experience of companies participating in the project to implement a systematic solution that would remove the barriers for all the companies, or mitigate them at least. In manual mode, we're going to test these technologies in practice. And the third area, what was mentioned by Dan Medovnikov, the problems with scalability of business in terms of management and management issues that are very complicated. The decision to scale the business, to expand to foreign markets, is a decision related to some risks, not only financial but also managerial risk, and it's not such an easy decision, and requires support. And here we also plan to involve consultants, to involve experienced business mentors. This term is usually used to for people that support minor companies, but here we want to apply the same term to middle companies that have already passed the Russian market level. Kaspersky, for instance, EBI, the companies that have learned to create the scales of their foreign branches, to transnationalization of their businesses. This is the task that we want to fulfill within our program in the nearest year. Here we are planning to cooperate with our business schools, our management school, and we have also invited the corporate office of Sberbank to take part in the discussion of projects, and the leading companies and consulting companies too. And last but not the least is the support for not only the governmental support in the form of subsidies or authority support, but also we're planning to involve private investment institutes, banks, and direct investment foundations. And we have already had some negotiations with leading banks, and we are currently discussing the best combination for using the existing supportive instruments, at the same time using the instruments of private banks, private financial institutes, in order to use this leverage of governmental support to use the financial support at the same time. So they will see in our champions their promising clients, the companies that are worthy of being invested in. The main problem of in getting the investment for Tech companies is to get the mortgage, getting a collateral. They do not have very good assets in the form of equipment, and banks are not used to using these assets as the collateral. But here we plan that based on this pilot project, we will ensure better understanding of banks for the specifics of risks for crediting highly technological companies. And thanks to these companies, we believe other companies will gain more free access to bank financing, and that will learn to be better in evaluating risks of high technological companies. As for potential scaling, maybe going a little forward, the other project that we are implementing, the project for development of territorial innovative clusters, when you also see national champions there require investments ahead of the development, state-of-the-art development. And we also see the necessary support for private companies. We see national champions. They will be maybe not 30 or 50, a little more. We have 27 clusters currently. Even half of them implement similar programs with lower entry rates of 100 million ruble number of sales. This will be amount of sales. This will also enable them to scale this business and to start a systematic approach. So I also count on the success of our project, and I invite everyone as representatives of private and public institutes to take part in this project.
Thanks a lot. I'm now giving the floor to our next speaker, and I would ask him to share with us the experience. I will ask our guest, Shaun and Guan. I will ask all the speakers to stick within 5-7 minutes limits, please. Thank you. Today we are talking about the issue how to grow the national champion. My personal opinion and Chinese experience demonstrates that China over the past 30 years have grown sufficient number of those champions. Of course, we may divide it into two parts. The already old champions like Lenovo, Huawei, and others. They are already operating in good markets, have good chances of international cooperation, global demand. So they are already using their technological advantages and their rating. Now we are moving over to the next stage. As our moderator has mentioned, that we have also a new generation of national champions like Alibaba and others, Cuckoo, and other companies. Russian guys are already working with them, and Xiaomi, which make satellite phones. And over a very short period of time, it has grown into a champion in China and even in the world. I simply wanted to indicate 3 points. First, in order to attain this goal, what do we need? My personal opinion is that we need 3 points. First is a leading company, leading team, people who are working. They are not some special people. It's just a person who had made a team and other companies who want to work together to win the market together. To build this. The companies which I have listed, that's exactly what they did, and they were successful. The second point is the market. Who will have the market will be the winner. That's natural. Of course, in every country we have their own situation. In China, we have our conditions. You have different conditions. But for any fast-growing technological company, they must understand what is their market. Is it only in Russia or in China or in other countries or in neighboring companies? It's very important to formulate your own development strategy. In that case, the capital which awaits their chance will come to you. Otherwise, if you did not have this target market, that potential demand, potential sales, investors will not bring their money to you. That's serious, because without this serious capital, you cannot develop seriously. You cannot become a champion in the future. That's impossible. That's the second point. And the third one is an atmosphere, the conditions, the climate for entrepreneurial activity, the business climate, in order to educate all the growing companies, because without those conditions, it will also be very difficult. You may imagine if it will be difficult for them to register their company, if they will not have the commercial conditions, if they have to look for the suppliers to buy some components, they will have to look for the sales, for the market. They need help. And who can help? In the first place is the government, by all means. In China, over the past 30 years, we have created the kind of service centers for entrepreneurs. They are government agencies. It's the government who supports them. Now we have a new strategy, mass-scale entrepreneurship and innovation. This is already a higher-level strategy. We already have achievements. We already have results, and we want to move on from this level. They help small-scale businesses to make them grow faster. They get government preferences. They interest that the government help to other companies, potential customers, even universities. They are all working because they will be able to have this demand, to have this market. Therefore, those 3 points are very important. That's about all I wanted to say. Thank you. Thanks a lot. I will ask our colleagues, those who represent here various government tools, government programs, to share their views and give us some ideas to this box of those ideas, the pool of ideas which was described by Artem. And again, I will ask you to be brief, because most important point for us is to listen to the companies. I will ask Nikita Gusakov, who represents our XR, to share his position with us. I will try to be very brief. I will not describe in detail what does the Russian Export Center. It was very nice to hear that export is one of the most important factors for the development of the national champions. In order to unify their government support, we have set up this Russian Export Center. Our our presumption was the same. Our logic was the first thing that the companies are worried about is the financial support. Therefore, when in 2011 we have set up EXAR, we have started with the financial support to exporters, the ability to insure their risks, to get softer loans, and gradually we understood that in addition to financial support, our exporters need non-financial support because the development gain in international markets, in addition to financial leverage, it requires some other very important skills, which many of our exporters either do not have or they are not as developed. And therefore, as part of the Russian Expert Center, we have certain areas of financial and non-financial support, and we have a significant educational segment where, first of all, we have as our target audience small and middle-sized companies, and we are helping exporters or future exporters to be acquainted with the basics of foreign trade. We have non-financial support, which includes helping logistics, standardization, international adaptation, customs issues. And main idea was that when people come to the Russian Expert Center, whether they're small or mid-sized company, they would get the whole range of support that they require from the government in order to develop their expert activities. Because our support tools are varied, we have lots of different elements, and an exporter or any company national champion will be somewhat at a loss in that. And as I mentioned, the initial focus was on financial support. And for that, we have established EXAR, which was modeled on the companies from other countries in both developed and developing, growing economies to understand the scale of our operation in terms of support of expert. Last year, we have supported 6 billion, this year 5 billion, and we are working with companies of different levels, both with the existing national champions, large size, non-raw material, or the companies which are associated with raw materials market, and the companies which are just beginning to operate in international markets. The support that we are offering to exporters is the possibility to expand their base and their range of counterparties, because we have an opportunity to outsource the risk evaluation in order for the companies to focus on their main activities. We give them an opportunity to raise loans at better terms. This is the program of subsidies from the Ministry of Commerce. This is the possibility of refinancing from the banks as part of an experiment, taking loans from central bank at soft interest rates. And this is relief from fines in case of delayed payments on the part of their counterparties, and we are helping them to make the Russian products more competitive, providing financing to the buyers of the Russian products, to their customers. This is another important area, particularly in the developing markets and new markets, like markets of Africa, where our cost of financing, despite the fact that it is higher than the American or Chinese, is still more attractive than the cost of money in domestic market. Therefore, the work with exporters together with financing gives them competitive advantage. As part of BRICS, I wanted to mention separately that we are working very actively with our vis-a-vis, the expert agencies of BRICS countries. In 2014, we have signed a memorandum of understanding with the credit agencies of BRICS. In 2015, in St. Petersburg, we have initiated a format of annual meetings of BRICS countries, and this year we have organized the first technical seminar. What it gives the Russian exporter, it gives them and the opportunity to obtain additional expert opinion from BRICS countries, additional information, additional evaluation of risks associated with those countries, because their agencies, expert agencies, know their markets, and also providing joint support of BRICS countries, Russian and other countries, to move into the third countries' markets. From the point of view of examples, of course, some companies were already mentioned, for example, beer card company, and I wanted to give two more examples. Middle-sized company, high-tech company from high-tech sector with which we're working for a long time. It's Monocrystal. In fact, and this is a very successful example of a global leader, absolute global leader in high-tech market, and the main expert of Monocrystal is in BRICS countries, including China. And the volume of supported expert last year was $75 million. And with Monocrystal, we worked in various forms of expert support, beginning from the classic insurance of their receivables. Then we helped them to obtain softer financing, and now we started working with a new product, which we started this year. This is creation of expert-oriented production. Of course, to be able to export, we need to produce, and in order to produce, Russian companies quite often require additional investment. And bearing in mind that access to foreign funds is limited now, this product helps them to raise investment on better terms. And we're working on a project to expand their capabilities, which will be completely oriented towards expert. Talking about large-size companies which work together with us, I wanted to list Ibras. This is a national-scale champion. We wanted to say that this company naturally is a kind of vertically integrated holding, and we worked with this company also in different areas of government support, beginning from insurance of short-term risks. We provided financing to the buyers of their products abroad. We worked on factoring arrangements with the company, and as our colleagues told us, that if we wanted to grow national champions with turnover higher than 10 billion, we must focus on support of both mid-size and large companies, which have very serious chances to become national champions in the nearest future. Well, very briefly, these are our available support tools and what we are doing in BRICS markets.
Thank you very much. And I would like to give the floor to Evgeny Borisov, representing Free. Good afternoon, dear colleagues. The Internet Initiative Development Fund has celebrated its 3-year anniversary, and together with our Chinese colleagues, I support what he said. We need to generate companies correctly. The average companies that are now reaching the success level at 20 years, the IIDF companies are 2-3 years old. These are beginning startups, but a good start provides good right development. And what we last week, IIDF has closed the first margin with 1.4 billion ruble price. In 2 years, we've managed to reach significant growth. They found their point of growth, they found their own market. It all started when the company entered the IIDF, and we've been looking for the niche, for the point of growth that would provide it with opportunities for growth. It was correctly mentioned that it's not always focused on money, that money is not always the issue. I'm talking about average companies we are working with. We have portfolio of companies, for instance, a big company that is involved in informational security. And it's all, mostly not the financial support, not the money support, but it's mostly in the support in reaching new markets, both Russian markets and foreign markets too. And considering our support, the fact that the product reaches the designated market, we could witness a great growth of the company reaching international markets. And of course, here other funds are required to provide their support, for instance, XCR, in terms of expert support, expert assistance. But I would say that it's also not the problem of credit issues, but mainly the problem of development of business in the foreign markets. And probably we could suggest some kind of mechanism involved providing the mechanism for a company to enter other export companies and export markets. For instance, U.S. market can be conquered using some American fund also interested in development of Russian company and entering in the company entering the market. We're currently working on this issue, and we also had the first budget. We have EasyTen company that has shown quite a significant growth in Brazil market, for instance, and we're currently moving it to the United States, and American funds show their interest in this company, which means that if a company is in the correct market, it's the financial support is not an issue. It's mostly the issue of getting the right consulting, mentor support that is needed to give rapid development in this market. We're also assisting companies that I would call middle ranking, up to 2 billion ruble turnover, to find their strategic partners. It's often the case that within a new fast-growing company, there are some branches that can be developed into a spin-off and sold quite quickly. And through our support, we provide this coupling with the strategic companies, for startups, for middle companies. Specifically, we've created a mechanism that is called branch industrial acceleration with the strategic partner on the one hand, on the one side. For instance, if we're talking about medical industries, Bayer, Stada, Midmir, Katren, A5, for instance. And on the other side, on the other hand, we have these small companies. We show what we have available in the market of the small growing technology companies to major companies. They're in their turn, and they in their turn determine the plan for their developments, not only by developing inside, but introducing these research products in the startup activity into the environment that can ensure they can support it. If we talk about the environment, about what was mentioned by our Chinese colleague, it's important to have the right environment, the right atmosphere to support new businesses, to help them become national champions. I like the cluster idea. For instance, we've just visited Novosibirsk and we discussed the creation of a medical IT cluster, and the cases as follows. If a Russian company wants to produce a Russian product, not only software but a hardware software system, it's not an issue building a software. As for hardware components, issues may arise, and the idea appeared that maybe a one-stop shop approach could be very useful for a region that has the support of local institutions, educational establishments, medical clinics, local partners for testing, for instance. We are creating an environment where a prototype can be tested and elaborated more quickly, and based on this cluster, a certain ecosystem can be established that would be attractive for people, and based on which new, highly technological businesses would be generated. In terms of general tools, I think this is it. Thank you very much. Thank you. And the last in the line of governmental tools, I would like to give the floor to Alexei Volогодsky, representing Industrial Development Fund. This is an extremely active, effective instrument and tool. And I think it's very important for TechUspech companies to understand this too. And maybe some of them are already involved in it. Good afternoon, dear colleagues. Good afternoon, colleagues. My name is Sergei Vologorsk, representing the Industrial Development Fund. Talking about the fund, I think many of you know the tools, the support tools that we provide. These are the privileged credits of 5% annual rate. We also support industrial companies in terms of consulting for state support and what was mentioned about subsidies by Ministry of Industry and Trade. We are helping the companies to prepare the kit of documents and talking about what was mentioned. We see that there is a great potential for the project, for the companies that were included in the rating in the year 2015. We have the companies that got the loan from the fund and the companies that, again, different forms of assistance. We're working with them, and we have an agreement to continue this work this year to popularize the success of TechUspech companies among companies that are looking for loans. And also, in one of the slides, you saw that one of the biggest problems of major companies is the availability of credits. And our mandate, our focus allows us to support the projects that are at the stages, and considering the privileged conditions that we provide, I think Industrial Development Fund can be interesting to many companies. Talking about the pilot project implemented by the Ministry of Economic Development, I think this is a very good initiative. We're not just present nominally in the council where we are already present, but we'll be actively involved, and I think we'll together be able to grow national champions that will be known not only in Russia but also outside. Thank you. And now we have reached the second part of our today's discussion. Specifically, it's very important for us to listen to the opinion to the opinions of companies who, on the other hand, would be able to speak on the programs and ideas that were mentioned today, how topical they are, and what are their challenges, what are their problems, and how can we optimally configure this task. I would like to give the floor to Viktor Agdeev, representing Igor Himtech company.
Dear colleagues, we are discussing today, as I understand, the problem how from a successful mid-sized business and very promising small business to make a large business. As far as I understand, today we have a historical event. It's a second attempt to do this. First attempt was the creation of Rosnano Corporation, but I believe it failed. And this, therefore, today is very important for us. I myself represent a university, myself and my team. And this is what we had in '91 at the Soviet Union, the first small-scale company. Now we are developing successfully. We have lots of patents. We have implemented something like 20-25% of our ideas because we have deficit of resources. Therefore, the support is very important. We are working on functional materials, and we have applications in various spheres. we've been very lucky because when we were a mega project, we were one of the winners. And this picture demonstrates that over the 4 years, we have increased our production volume several times. And what is most important for me, why I believe that I am not ashamed. I feel very comfortable with the government support because from this picture it follows that in 4 years we have received 400 million support and we have paid 410 million taxes. From then on we are paying more than 300 million in taxes. Therefore, we paid back many times. Therefore, I believe it's a very correct approach. But now let us look at it. What is mid-sized business? When people already hate you, but they are not yet afraid of you. What did I have in mind? With a turnover of 2 billion, our R&D support, because we have come from academic community, from all grants, we have won 21 million this year. I know some institutes which are devouring those billion because with a turnover just 1 million, they have huge R&D contracts. Therefore, it's very good for the state to care about small-scale businesses. Now, have a look here. We have our Russian economy is not big. Therefore, we may talk about addressing those issues only with the export markets. I talked a lot with international companies, and they asked me a question. What is your position in the Russian market? If you are not a leader in domestic market, people will not be willing to talk to you in export markets. So for one of the problems is that our large state corporations, our main consumers like Rostec, Rosnana and others are living in a super liberal economy. But any factory, any producer are 2-3 suppliers and long-term contracts. And we are working with railroads, Gazprom. We have 10-12 contracts a year, and each time we have to fight for them. And we are being checked and rechecked, winning this contract. But we need long-term contracts. Second issue, which is also very important for criteria of selecting the good companies inside Russia. And without this, we cannot talk about export. I'm very happy. We've been very lucky that out of 5 projects of the Center of Certification and Standardization with the Ministry of Economy started last year, we've been selected as one of the 5. And in Moscow State University, they have set up this center. I believe this is a necessary condition. And this area where the government has invested significant amounts. And we plan to develop a number of industry standards which will allow us to show the advantages of modern products compared to what we had 20-30 years ago. They are all present in standards. You are all familiar with this. Now, returning to export. First of all, export, I do not know. People are prohibiting export because you have to pay €1,500 for only the papers which you need to have. But what is export? You do not start with huge batches. I talked to Dvorkovich. He promised a lot. But unfortunately, I believe that only when we come together, those who care about us, those who support us, then probably we'll be able to change the situation a little bit. Certification of our materials abroad. Of course, markets are protecting the exports. In some products, in fire protection products, American company requires $150 million for one product. We do have this money, but it's very difficult for us. We have lots of products, and we have some support from the government with certification. Customs, also another problem. When we start this, there are lots of unnecessary questions. Let me show you one picture. On the left-hand side is a production line, which we have built within a very short term when the sanction policy started. Ministry has funded it. This is the carbon material for MS-21. What is the paradox? We have this line, but on this line, it can make only several tons of material, a dozen of tons. But we cannot use it for commercial work. It is prohibited to use it for commercial production. This is an absurd situation. We need to talk to Mr. Mantrov. And the second one is an order from RKK Energy in the yellow side. We are ahead of large research institutes. We are suppliers for Federation spaceship. But we wanted to have a right when we build the production line to supply not only Energy but to other space companies, Rostech including, and others. We do hope that we'll get support. Therefore, if in our documentation it was said that this is a research line, give us a right. We are ready to take it in leasing. We are ready to buy it out from the state, but give us an opportunity to use this equipment. Now, the intellectual property in banks is zero. You know that it is not valued. 240 patents is not worth anything when we come to the banks for loans. Our equipment is also not valued as anything. But what makes me happy is a cluster, the infrastructure. We do need, and we'll talk to the Ministry of Economy. We have a number of ideas. We have an infrastructure. We have a land plot. We'll build ourselves, but we need the sewage, electricity, heat, and so on. We need this infrastructure, utilities from the state. We will work. We are looking for the sites, potential sites in many regions. We are ready to develop productions, unique productions. For example, we have developed this material, adhesive material for the space. But if we need large-scale production, for the space we can make in a laboratory, but large space production is an insulation material for the motors because it's on large depths where they need high temperature environment. So the space, aerospace opens doors for new production, but we need volume, we need scaling of this production. And finally, I wanted to say that to be partners is very good, but small-scale and middle-sized business needs guarantees of property, and I wanted the government to take care of protecting this property. As some magazines said, some small animals are just running in the fields, but there are eagles, proud eagles. We need openness, and without openness, without partnership, we cannot grow fast. But ownership, property must be protected. Without this, we will not move any further. I wanted to say again that this is a wonderful attempt, a second, third attempt, but we want to succeed ultimately because together we can do a lot. It's a pity. I am a little bit older than many people here. I lived in the Soviet Union, and I remember how we started going into the space. And in composite materials, we were among the first top producers. And now we are just producers of raw materials. We want to produce something high-tech, not just to sell raw materials. Thanks a lot. I support you and everything is not that bad, and your work demonstrates that we have very good chances. I wanted to emphasize, and I thank you a lot for the emphasis of what we need to support. Certification, for example. We are talking about this for a long time, that by all means the company needs support, not only for the existing certification, but also for the new standards where you can lose. Without certification, we cannot operate in high-tech markets. Without certification, no company can go into the export markets. We fought for that for so many years, and when the Ministry of Economy told us that one comment was made by shocking that not 5 but 500 centers like this are required. If we select any area, any aspect, biomaterials, IT, small and medium-scale business, certification is a must. Otherwise, we will not have any good results, either in domestic or export markets. Without that, we'll go nowhere. Thank you. And we discussed not just international certification and standardization, but also, and that was also mentioned at the Council on Modernization, but I do not know whether it was implemented, that stimulating our own companies to set up testing facilities, testing grounds, to accelerate the standardization in domestic markets, and this cannot be done with the funding from investor. This must be an initiative from the government companies. I apologize. First of all, first thing that I wanted to say, there are so many lies. And raw standard, I do not know where. Everyone tells us that I have the best. There are no criteria, price, quality, and in that case, all high-tech products will not be visible. I wanted to mention the numbers, $5 billion, where they invite us, $5 billion, $10 billion. We must be modest, and especially in the beginning. Later on, probably will accelerate. But for us, the minimum is $150 million. Why? Because in that case, I will be able to spend $5 or $7 million for R&D. We have set up an institute 13 years ago. This is our research base, but we have to work on commercial orders in order to support the institute. But when we have this critical mass in every industry, they have their own parameters, but in that case we'll be able to become self-sufficient, because otherwise who will support us? Where is the Academy of Sciences? Where is the university? I am, as a member of academic community, to understand that this is also a problem. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much. Let's give the floor to our next leader, Oleg Krivonosov, Synergia Leader Company. Good afternoon. I would like to tell about our business. We have mostly the same case as was described by the previous speaker. The company has issues with financial credits. We're currently developing a new production facility where we try to attract our main areas, and we are for a year already struggling to get cheap credits. Currently, we have not managed to achieve the goal. Our second issue is developments, patents. It's difficult to retain the products. Some patents we try to secure through court when other developers started using our technology. It's also a complicated task, and it's difficult to win in the court, and some of our business was used by other manufacturers. This is our second issue. And a small part of the business problem is personnel, staff. We are training the people ourselves. Then these people are employed by monster companies, our neighbors, offering a better salary, machine builder, машиностроитель, factory Искра, plant offering better conditions, contracts. We cannot offer contracts to our people. We have short-term agreements only, and the production is not stable in terms of its salary. We cannot fix financially. It's briefly on our problems. That's what we have in our company. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your addition about the personnel. It's really an issue for startups and in technological companies. On the other hand, we need great people. On the other hand, it's the leakage issue, and it's important for universities to hear this issue and to create some new formats. For instance, there is an interesting practice in Akadempark, in Akademgorodok of Novosibirsk, when technological companies are ordering universities to train specialists. The technological part arranges, manages programs. This very good practice as a tune specialist specifically for technological companies. We are intending to develop this program. I'm not sure if it is a part of TechUspech, but we need to include that for sure. And now I'm giving the floor to Gennady Vikulov of SKB Contour Company. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Gennady. I represent SKB Contour. We work in the IT industry. We have been in TechUspech rating since year 2013. We're currently fourth in this rating, but we need to improve on our efforts in order to reach high positions. What this rating enables us, it gives us the opportunity to compare ourselves with other companies to see the directions for further development as far as our challenges, our needs are concerned. In terms of governmental support, we need stability of the taxation legislation. Despite crisis, the IT industry, we think, are in a good taxation regime. We get the privileges in terms of VAT, but state nevertheless always makes us nervous in its respect. For instance, the Google law, there was an idea to deprive Russian companies of this privilege, but thanks to the support by the Ministry of Communication and Mass Media and the expert community, have managed to retain this privilege. But there is a new threat. We use the insurance fee privilege, and we believe they are beneficial. Our main expenses are salaries of our experts and people. In total, up to 80% of the total expenses amount. We do not have any sources for recovering VAT, and that's why we have privileges. There is a risk that since 2018 we will have this privileges removed. We are creating new laboratories, creating technologies, testing them. Not every technology proves to be successful in terms of financial results. We are not spending this money on income, as can be seen from our open information, and we need support from the legislative people we don't want any surprises from them. We want to be fruitful and efficient in investing in new products, creating these products and showing them in Russia and foreign markets. It's not just we are asking for money. We can see that insurance fees are now 7 times more compared to after the privilege was removed. The amount of taxes also increased in times, but it's actually beneficial for the government because this privilege gives us more opportunity for development. I want to thank our government for the following things. Currently, documents are being turned into digital form. This is a modern trend not only in Russia but also globally, and here our government is actively publicizing open data, but it's not much of a value. We know how to work with big data, we know how to process this data, and we think that our product contour focus is based on open data, completely published by the government. And if the government continues this work, we'll have other products developed based on the open data published by the government. Another major issue that we experience is staff. As was mentioned here, we are developers, and our main assets are our developers, our programmers, engineers. Here we have a major issue with hiring the right people, and we try to solve this problem by being actively involved in cooperation with universities, providing grants and holding competitions in different disciplines, and also giving the training tools, providing training tools for our students, and trying to adapt the students to our industry. We have 2 proposals in this respect. First, we need to have the investment expenses and the training expenses allocated to investment expenses, and also need to production cost of the products expenses, and we also need the governmental support in terms of the training expenses for competitions and disciplines, and students for training future specialists. And currently we're looking for partners abroad. Just a few steps in abroad in European countries. We're quite well known in the Russian market, but in order to reach foreign markets, we need somebody to support us, to recommend us. It will be sufficient just to have recommendation supporting us. To summarize, we need stability to continue developing, and we need our government to know about us, to be able to support us when it is necessary in the international market. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot. I will just add that recently we discussed with our former colleague who formerly worked in now in Ministry of Economics, the possibility of using our trade representative's office to develop the potential. And I believe that this kind of economic technological diplomacy is something that we must focus on. And now supervising the international block of the strategy, we want to use this concept of international technological policy, not just support of high-tech companies, but participation in the global progress processes of development of standards, the implementation of new technologies, because we must be strong players there. And the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ministry of Economy, and all of us are ready to work together with you. Therefore, thanks a lot for mentioning this task. Using this opportunity, I just wanted to ask you, give us your request in writing, and we'll do that. And we, as an expert center, together with the colleagues from Ministry of Economy, have now started working with the first 5 countries where we are starting trade houses, where we will have a representative, a person, the sole task of whom will be the promotion of Russian products. Therefore, you may come to us, to the Russian Expert Center, and with those countries where we have our representation, information, we are ready to help you. Thanks a lot, dear colleagues. I must apologize in introducing our services. I have forgot to mention a very powerful service. So I will ask Alessia Maltseva to talk about the opportunities of Moscow and what it offers. Good afternoon, dear colleagues. I thank you a lot for the opportunity to talk here. I will modify my presentation a little bit because I could talk for a long time what problems our residents have. And today, over the 4 years, we managed to place 48 companies, both Russian and foreign. I personally work with them on a daily basis. I work with investors and I listen to the resident companies, the problems that they are facing. And in continuation of what the previous speaker said, I am prepared to tell you that we are ready to promote his company in international market and give every support to this company. In this way, I will complement our discussion and will share international experience of development of national champions in terms of development organizations. Because in addition to placing both Russian and foreign production facilities in the Russian Federation, I also work on transfer of technologies in BRICS space. I concentrate on Indian vector. I speak Hindi, therefore, if you have this need, please come to me. I'm also teaching in the MGIMO. Now, talking about BRICS countries, our experience of work with the partners demonstrates that it is the small and mid-sized companies who require our support. Moreover, in the recent years, it has become more and more necessary, vital to have technological alliances. The companies are trying to go into foreign markets. They are looking for reliable partners, but they come across the lack of information, a lack of adequate mechanisms of stimulating this kind of cooperation. Therefore, as part of implementing the Declaration of BRICS Summit of 2011, our team has developed a project of stimulating the development of small and mid-sized companies of BRICS countries. And the next logical step is the development of technological platform RTT and BRICS, where already today we are actively registering the companies who are looking for partners. Specifically, I believe it will be interesting to many. In May this year, a pilot contest was started, a multilateral technological project as part of technological cooperation of BRICS countries, and correspondingly, the companies from these countries may come together and prepare joint applications for funding and work on interesting projects. We, on our part, are inviting all of you for cooperation with us, and I'm ready to answer all questions, probably already after this discussion, but I am available for more detailed discussions. Thanks a lot. It is true that you have accumulated this experience of promotion of companies. This is valuable and important. We have to have this into account. I would ask to start summing up, probably not even summing up, but some thinking of what was said here. I will ask Andrei Klepich to talk here on behalf of Neshekonombank. I know that this is one of the architects of our innovation and industrial policy, and probably he will also mention the new tools of BAB and the policy that we have. What you believe of what was mentioned today or not mentioned today may become the key pool or key toolbox to accelerate the development of companies. Thank you. Evgeny, thank you, dear colleagues. Even though I was a bit late to join this event, I will try to voice several comments. First of them, in order to have gazelles or fast-growing companies, we need to have in the first place fast-growing markets. I believe that one of the very serious problems of the past 2 years, unlike the environment in which the subject of gazelles was discussed earlier, the situation when the economy is either in recession or stagnation, we have not too many segments, and they are very small, where we can see significant growth of demand. Even in those areas where we see this growth in pharmaceuticals, in medical equipment, some very small markets like composition materials or special alloys, with the general decline in engineering, nonetheless, we see growth of sales of the Russian machines, but even in pipe industry, particularly some special types of pipes, but nonetheless, we do have these types of segments, and the government, no matter what arguments we have about the budgets or monetary policy, we must think what measures may support those points of growth. Maybe then we will get gazelles. The second point which we have here, and probably it was mentioned during the discussion, at least it traditionally arises when we are discussing the topic of gazelles. This is what access there is to the large orders from large companies. Under the Russian environment, these are mostly state-owned companies. We have many problems here. I would probably identify some of them about which we must think, and maybe the participants of this roundtable discussion would formulate their proposals. First of all, these the contractual practices. This is given at the disposal of the companies, but this is not a panacea, because the law itself does not provide for long-term relationship. This is still the disposal of the company. And now, bearing in mind the planning horizon, this is a very large hindrance for the companies, particularly mid-sized businesses. Therefore, what tools, what instruments may support long-term contracts which would give stability to the suppliers of companies like Rosneft, Gazprom, because I know many companies like this, but despite the fact that large companies have their own plans, but even they have investment programs for 1 year, and the contracts are even shorter. This is one subject which we keep discussing, but we must have a look at it. This is not an issue of the law, but probably more an issue of practice. Maybe we should work here together with the large companies. Maybe it's easier in defense industry, work on the purchase plan of machines and some pioneer pilot projects where gazelles may realize their potential. Therefore, we will try, at least with those companies with which I formally, from the ministry and now from our bank, the companies like Roscosmos, Rosatom, to build long-term purchase plans which may form some reference point for gazelles. Second topic related to this is the nature of purchase, because large contracts, we mentioned here 150 million, but I believe that today we don't have so many gazelles who may win the bid for 100 or 200 million US dollars. Probably we may break them down into smaller bids. Third, This was already mentioned here. This is an issue of certification, and probably we may think here about what could be the role of business associations, or maybe it should be not just a pools, but we may set up an association of gazelles which would protect those interests and formulate the requirements to the purchase campaigns and help them with the certification and standardization programs, the requirements of larger companies. Third aspects which I would like to emphasize here, again, it was already mentioned, this is an issue of soft loans. Here, despite all our wishes and well-thinking, this goes very slowly or does not move forward at all. There are some attempts, but there are also some problems because the central bank does not offer refinancing for this activity. So this is not just an issue of subsidy. This is an issue of refinancing of loans which could be beneficial for export or other loans which are provided for operation in domestic markets. I do not know whether the representative of industry fund spoke here, because this is the model that works here. But we have not addressed this issue, though the Ministry of Industry have formulated this problem, which could help us to set up a system of refinancing of loans which are provided by the banks, or some other approach, some other model where the fund itself would have a possibility not just to get financing from the government. I believe that 10 billion has been already approved. Maybe 10 more billion will be approved before the end of the year. Maybe the bonds would be issued, particularly if they were bought by the central bank. It could also provide a mechanism. In principle, there are various technical possibilities. We have not found a solution as yet. I do not know if the round table could formulate its recommendations. We could support this approach to the central bank, which was already done. I believe that we may try several times, but in that case, we would be able to get some appropriate leverage, because until then, we will not be able to address this problem. I mean the rules of investment contracts and some others. I will not talk about expert support because I believe that my colleague has described it already, and I am quite confident that this is a segment which is quite alive in the work of our bank and in the economy in general, which will develop, which will keep growing, particularly with the use of guarantees to support expert transactions. Also, it was mentioned here, but probably it's not just to raise its relevance. This is the program of training, personnel training, qualified staff, specialists who could work in gazelle companies. We do have dedicated programs, even though right now it is focused on defense industry, but probably we should raise a question, organize some program. It's not a significant financing, but probably we could adjust the standards and parameters of financing of this program. The companies who form the top companies of the rating, who can support training of their specialists, even though they are not defense companies, but as part of their program, they would be able to get the required competences. And I believe that what is important here is not just the co-financing instrument, but the content of those programs. And I believe that here we can work with a specialist like Viktor Agdeev and our specialists from Moscow State and Bauman Institute and Polytechnical and MFT. We could develop very interesting curricula involving corporate university of Sberbank and business school, because it is very important here, not just the amount of financing and the number of people who would be trained there, but what we will give them, what practical and useful knowledge we can give them. Therefore, this is my proposal, which I thought about listening to you. Probably we should concentrate not just on rating. I believe this is important, and I appreciate the efforts of Dan Medovnikov and Erbeka and other, but maybe we should set up an association and rationalize it, and as part of adjustment of our personal training programs, and we would develop a set of requirements to the system of purchase, the programs of purchase of the large companies, both state-owned and non-state-owned. Thanks a lot. I must say that the idea of setting up an association is very vital. We planned it even last year, and I must say that we worked on this model. We talked with Delovaya Россия about the possibility of setting up the internal division there, but probably it is worthwhile to set up a separate association. We have a significant support from the government on this issue. I believe that we'll continue this work, and we must take this into account in our project, because in Russia in general we have a very low level of cooperation, and people cannot agree with each other to address their problems together. And we are losing to Western companies there who can set up association and can promote their interests on behalf of an association. It's much easier. Therefore, I do support this, and I am grateful that you have raised this issue again, and I believe that we must do it. And I invite all partners to concentrate on this, to go to the level of association, business association, because this will be a tool which will allow us to do a lot. And I thank all speakers and the audience with this. We will continue this work and move forward together. Thanks a lot.